Hello everyone, my name is Jasleen and I am I did the previous mission in December, MAU 1119. It was one of the great experience, and first of all, congratulations to all the participants who are going to be in the upcoming missions. Um, I am here. I'm going to talk about two different projects that I am doing in collaboration with MAU. The first project is basically a it's a behavioral motivation of people who are willing to go to Mars. And as you know that Mars is something that is a current topic to for the people that they are talking about. Okay, is the life is possible on Mars, or how the people are going to behave and all those things. So the first study is about that. And the next study that I'm going to talk about is a cognitive study, where we are using the EEG machine, EEG headset to track your signals, brain signals, to see how you perform and how your performance react when you stay in isolation. So let's start with the first one. Let me share the screen here. Okay, so the first study that I'm going to talk about is behavioral motivation of prospective Mars crew members. So this study is basically to know, like, whoever is willing to go to Mars, how their behavior is, the time when you go and stay in isolation, how you behave, how you perform. I'm doing this project with Dr. Dattel, Dr. Seedhouse, and Dr. Susan from MAU. And this project is basically a collaborated project of Embry Riddle and Mars Academy USA. And since we are doing this study, we did this one in the December mission, and then we have plans to actually continue this for the upcoming missions as well. So this, so that's why it's like a longitudinal study and a collaboration study. So in this particular study, what I'm going to talk about is basically talk about, like, what is the study about and what is the background behind why I'm doing this one, what are the things that I'm finding from this study, and what is the method that I'm going to use to do this research, to this project. So over here, we know that Mars is something that we have been talking about this from long time. We know that it could be something, a possibility that people will start living on Mars. But the biggest thing that we'll talk about is, like, everyone say that, hey, I want to go to Mars, I want to go to Mars, but is it really possible to go over there? If it is possible, then if at all we say that, okay, the mission is possible. But if the mission is just one way, then whether the people are still willing to go or not, are they willing to leave their families? Because mission is not going to be like just going from here to the International Space Station and coming back. It's definitely going to be a very prolonged mission. So 2 to 3 years continuously with a very minimal or no contact with their family members, with anyone on the earth, with a very minimal supply. So this is the reason, that's why the participants, the crew members, whoever is going to be for this mission, they have to be really, really strong. So when we talk about people going to Mars, there are, going to space, it's just the space itself, there are so many physiological and psychological issues that the humans can deal with. But talking about the humans going to Mars or maybe Moon, to any of the long mission, definitely all those challenges are going to be double the challenges that the astronauts face during their space travel. So why we are talking about Mars? As we all know that the properties of the Mars planet, the environment of the Mars planet is somewhat the few of the things are somewhat similar to what we have on Earth, like the tilt. We get all the 4 seasons, like Mars get all the 4 seasons, like we get it on this planet. But like the temperature, talking about the temperature wise, we know that it's minus 52 degree Fahrenheit over there. So, but in Antarctica, temperature goes to minus 57 degrees. So which is like good news that, okay, there could be a possibility that humans can survive. But Is that the only thing that we really want to know? No, that's not the only thing. So that's why in the previous studies, they have done like isolated studies. So one of the Mars analog mission, or all these missions that we do, from high fidelity to low fidelity to high fidelity missions, all these different missions, they are the exact example of, we talk about isolated missions, isolated and confined environments. And the time you actually go and live in those environments, your behavior changes, your psychology, your crew composition definitely changes from the day one to the number of mission that you have. The reason behind is like you are very adapted to the recent lifestyle, a modern lifestyle. So that's why whenever you go and stay you spend some time without your cell phone, or with a very minimal resources, you start acting in a different way. So there are very issues that like we have been facing with all those things. So there are like some positive issues, some negative issues. Some of the positive issues are like tolerance and like self-confidence. They seems to be more healthy, because that time they live there with less supplies. They try to make sure that they're eating healthy and they're eating proper. But there are so many other issues, negative issues, like mood swings, mood patterns, lack of cognitive skills. They are tired, they are not able to put much things, they are worried about their like family, their kids, their friends, everything. They are so bored with the place where they are living right now, with the food and everything. So there are so many negative effects that we get. These are the various analog missions, like where people go and conduct the research. And this is one of the one that where you gonna be there is like MAU. Living over to this place and these other places is completely different. This one, so far, I have been to a couple of places, but this staying at MAU with the Mars Academy was one of the good experience. The reason being is like it when you are there, you actually experience like how you actually do all those geographical EVAs, medical EVAs, and you learn various aspects of related to the psychology, physiology. So in my understanding, for me, this was one of the great mission. And I'm sure you guys gonna have the same kind of experience as well. Talking about the various psychological issues, there are various mood patterns, team skills. There are so many issues, like because every person, the one whoever is selected in the team, people are from various areas. So it's very hard to understand everyone in that very less time. So those are some of the things: group living, communication skills. Some people are from different language background, their native language is different. So every time whenever you go to the new mission, you find people from different areas. And the motivation there, there's a lag in the motivation. There are leadership skills, difficulty in sleep, because the amount of exercise or the amount of the things that you're doing in a daily routine over there is different. So there's a difficulty in the sleep, and there's sometimes feeling of discouragement, and there are so many things you have to do under pressure. So there are so many physical, psychological issues that you as a person, when you go and stay in isolation, you adopt. But these are the various psychological issues which most of the astronauts, they do suffer when they go like during their space flights. And these are the various physiological issues that most of the humans suffer when they go to the like for their space flights. So you can imagine if these many things are there which the humans suffer during their space flight, just from here to International Space Station and coming back. That you can imagine the amount of the problems that they're going to face during their space travel to the Mars or to Moon, or any of those long duration missions. So these things are actually going to be double. So it's very important for us to know that what all those psychological and physiological issues are there that people, those participants, they suffer, and what are the things that we can actually do to improve those psychological and physiological issues. So and then again, like whenever we go and stay in the isolation, like you're gonna stay over there in a with the MAU habitat for a couple of days. During that time, you will be having a couple of sessions where you'll be doing yoga and meditation for your wellness, because it is required. It actually helps you to prepare you for your long duration missions, because every time whenever astronauts go to space, their bone density decrease, and there are a lot of issues they suffer because of that. So staying in isolation and giving some importance to yoga and meditation is again the another part, which we're going to talk in the next project. So these are the problems that we talk about. Like, it's going to be 2.5 to 3 years mission. It's going to be a really long mission. So there are so many issues. It's hard to understand how the human's going to react in that long duration flights. So it's very important for us to understand all those issues. That's the reason. That's why we are conducting this particular research. And in my research study, there are various questions that I wanna know from this, that whether like their motivation is gonna decrease, like after they go and stay in habitat for a couple of days in isolation, in all those isolated and confined environment, is their motivation level gonna decrease, their willingness to go to Mars, and how they're gonna react with the very limited resources, and if there's an effect of any like a that their stay has any effect on their psychology, like their physical and mental fatigue, amount of food they're taking, because the time you're going to be here, there are a couple of other researchers who are doing their research. There's a very great research on the diet intake that you do by in our mission. It was done by Dr. Aziz. So in that, he actually tried to implement some of the diet in which we can have all the proper nutrients and a healthy food. So all those different, but everyone is not used to eating all those things. So to see that whether that's going to affect their motivation, and to see that if they are asked to do exercise in the morning and in the evening, whether that is affecting their decision to go to Mars, or so any of those things. These are the various, and again, like having, when they are informed about various physiological issues that they can get, either they have to go through a surgery, they have to remove their gallbladder or their appendix before they go to space. Are they willing to do that, or how it is affecting their decision? So these are the various things. And at the same time, you know that as for now, no one has been to Mars. Only the rovers, the robots has been to Mars. So it's very important for us to know that whether sending humans alone is important, or humans along with the robots is something that's going to make the mission successful. So these are the various things that we are trying to find out of this study. So this study is divided into two different parts. We're going to do a pre and post survey. So the time you will enter the habitat, we will give you a survey, and by the end of the mission, there will be a same survey, just to know, like, have you been staying in the habitat has changed your decision, your answers. And at the same time, it's very important for us to know that the time when you're staying in the habitat, how you're daily reacting to the things. How is there any things which is from your day-to-day life that is affecting you. So these are the two things which are the part of this research study over here. And in the daily questionnaire, we have to check like your physical fatigue level, your mental.
Jasleen?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you, but are we meant to be seeing your presentation, because we don't see it at all?